Hi everyone, I'm here to share some facts with you about VE Day. VE Day stands for Victory in Europe Day. It was first celebrated on the 8th of May 1945, following 6 years of war with many countries, but in particular Germany, where people had suffered and been courageous and just endured what had been happening to them. It marks the defeat of Germany by the Allied forces in the Second World War. On this day, people ran out into the streets and they hung bunting up and had banners and they started dancing. And people rang church bells across the country to share the news that there was finally peace in Europe. People brought out food on plates and they set up tables and they had big street parties for children and for adults. And Tuesday, May the 8th, 1945 was known as a national day of celebration and became known as Victory in Europe Day. The place to be in Victory in Europe Day was London, big city, and anybody who could reach a city tried to do so. And it was really busy in the centre of London. People were waving flags and they were dancing and singing, and they were wearing the colours red, white and blue. And in the evening, fireworks filled the sky with flashes of light. On this day, there was only one person that people wanted to hear on the radio, whether they were in London or at home by their wireless. And that person was the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. And at 3 p.m. on the 8th of May 1945, he announced to the nation on the wireless that the war was over. People began to gather in Trafalgar Square and the Mall towards Buckingham Palace because they were waiting for Winston Churchill, King George VI, to make an appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. So shortly after the Churchill speech, King George VI, Queen Elizabeth and the two princesses came out onto the balcony of Buckingham Palace. And this was the first appearance that the King and Queen were to make on VE Day. At this point, Churchill told the crowd, "This is your victory." I'd like you to try and think about some of the things that I've said about VE Day, and I'd like you to make a fact file. So some things that you might be able to include in your fact file are: on what date was Victory in Europe Day? Why did people wear red, white and blue? Who mixed with the crowds on VE Day? Which important people mixed with the crowds on VE Day? And why did people ring church bells? If you can put this together in a fact file, then perhaps you could send it to your teacher because we'd love to see what you've done. Bye.